Ah, there we go. It always feels slightly more real when we see the faces, even though I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, which is something we say in New Zealand, cup of tea, as in it's not what everyone likes to do. So today in the Centrifuge and Altair governance call, we have a few things to get through. I'm just putting the agenda into the chat. We have a couple of quick announcements to make. We're going to dive into this really interesting recurring governance discussion that's super important to us as a community, which is the liquidity provider CFG rewards. And I know that a bunch of our asset originators have just been talking about this in more detail, so I'm hopeful that they will want to share any insights that they've had about CFG rewards. Today in the call, we have Polkaassembly demoing their tool to us, which is super exciting. I think I see Jess there, and Nick is probably joining as well. Cool, great. I think Polkaassembly is basically a unified platform to do a lot of the governance things in a more user-friendly way, and also involves discussion functionality. We've learned that we've also got the wonderful people from Web3 Alerts in the call today who can talk about their product if we have time, and we'll also be inviting them back to do the full demo later on. We'll have a quick update from anyone who's been following this really interesting development called the credit group, with Mike, who is leading that proposal. And we'll have our governance facilitator, Rano, just giving you a bit of an update of any current governance proposals that you need to pay attention to. And we will conclude the call with really exciting news about our POAP that gets given to anyone who joins this governance call. Okay, great. So looks like plenty of people are here. Just a little announcement that's not exactly governance, but we thought was quite fun to start the call. We wanted to talk just quickly about the fact that we have, with Altair, which is our experimental chain, we've listed AIR and AUSD on Karura Swap. So this is a really exciting development because there's a lot been going on in the background to enable us to do this. We had to open XEM channel between Kusama and Altair. And so now that's open, the swaps are live. And this is really important because it shows the power of parachain integrations on the Kusama and Polkadot blockchain. And also really exciting because this is the first DEX for Altair. And there's a reward, all the details of the rewards for this are listed in a blog that Nicolo wrote, which I think, Ivan, if you can just, it's already in the chat, wonderful. So Nicolo, anything you want to just add about this air swap before we see if there's any questions and then we jump into our call?
Hey, Kate, I mean, if community has questions, for sure. If not, I can give just a few, like a simple overview. So in the link I just shared, you can guys provide liquidity, and the bootstrapping period will go on till tomorrow approximately. And after that, we're possible to start trading. So if you guys actually want to provide liquidity, if you go see the webpage in this moment, you can see that the liquidity in the pool is actually skewed. There is more air than AUSD. So it would be better if you want to provide liquidity to provide on the AUSD side in order to bring the balance close to parity again. And yeah, if there are any questions, happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, pop them in the chat and we will come back to them. Wonderful. Okay, thanks for that little update. Oh. We are planning to integrate also CFG with Akala.
That's a really good question. So we have a couple of options on the table, but we still have to figure it out which is the best option. So for CFG, we will definitely, I mean, it's highly likely we'll bring CFG on a Kala swap, but on the other side, we can also bring it to Moonbeam. So there is also some liquidity there, like Stella swap right now on Moonbeam, and we know that Uniswap will also deploy we think in the short term to Moonbeam. So we have to decide which will be the best route to bring CFG natively on Polkadot. But definitely, yes, we will list CFG in another one.
Great. Thanks, Nicolo. Thanks for the update. Okay, so we're going to move over to CFG rewards, which is a pretty important discussion for the Centrifuge community. Mike, are you here? Or Lucas, can you just add anything about what's currently happening with the proposal? And then we'll probably have a bit of a discussion around this, because I think there's some
I would say let's wait for him.
I'm here.
Oh.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think just carrying on from a discussion we just had with some of the issuers on the platform, there is a proposal live in our forums that I tabled to restructure the CFG rewards. In that proposal, we do a couple, or maybe more than a couple things, but I think the overarching goal there is one, to reduce the overall emissions of CFG, which is in line with what we've been doing over previous periods and has always been communicated as where the protocol is headed. We can't keep giving out rewards forever, and as we continue to grow TVL, even in these adverse market conditions, we need to respond dynamically by decreasing emissions of CFG rewards. So I've suggested a few ways that we do that. One, some time ago, it was suggested that we raise TIN rewards to be more substantial than the drop rewards. And that was a response to market conditions at the time, where we were struggling. A lot of the issuers were struggling to raise additional TIN to grow their pools, and that's the junior tranche of those pools. I think over time, our market findings seem to suggest that drop became more scarce, and I think that's still the case today, and just getting even more exacerbated over time. I think that's really a product of changing market conditions, i.e. when CFG price was much higher, the reward rate was much more attractive versus today, and it really reward kind of yield overshadowed any underlying yield in the pools. I think that's changed a lot today, where the underlying interest rate has become more attractive. So the relative difference between the junior and the senior is much more apparent. So I think we've really struggled to raise senior capital into the pools. I think that's very evident. So that comes to the first proposal of lowering TIN rewards to be in line with drop. So that's to further incentivize more senior capital to come into our live pools. The second point of the proposal is to lower overall reward rates for both TIN and drop to 0.0003 per DAI per day. I think there's an element there that I will highlight, is that we were, due to some issues we had with the subgraph syncing, we had a big deficit of about 6 million CFG, which I posted a previous proposal that we needed to catch up. So we were playing some catch up here in terms of like lowering emissions, because I know TVL hasn't rocketed up, but we have moved up pretty meaningfully since the last proposal, and we need to
Did we lose Mike? We need to reduce inflation, right? That's what he was going to say.
Yeah, I think the thing we have to keep in mind is that like the rewards are for technical reasons, increasing as TVL grows, but that really isn't what we agreed on. We actually wanted to move towards Harvest rewards, and I kind of like try to explain why. At least I personally believe that like prioritizing that right now from an engineering perspective is really a lot of engineering time spent on the wrong thing, because it will lead to like basically this work being thrown away once pools on Centrifuge launch. And so what we have been doing consistently over the last 2 years that these rewards have been around is lowering them as TVL increase. And I think this is like another one of those adjustments that ultimately, if we don't do that, then like, I mean, the end is like infinite inflation, which I think is not what anyone wants. I think also like it is important to note that I mean, those are rewards for early adopters. It's not a revenue stream, I think, for users. That's really what the yield on the assets should be. And if you look at kind of like rewards across DeFi, yields have come down everywhere. And I think that's another kind of like data point to think of as we're thinking about the rewards. Mike, you got cut off when you were talking about
Hey, yeah, I'm not sure where I dropped.
What I think is that we have a relatively good summary of the most recent poll and why that was proposed. Is it okay if we move to any comments or questions from the community, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's super logical. I'm interested to hear everybody's perspective.
Cool. Anyone want to take the stage and comment on this?
I'll say a few things. So I was kind of against reducing TIN rewards or AO rewards any further than they've already been reduced, because they have been substantially reduced and falling. So what I would say is with kind of the delays in bringing larger capital sources to the platform, which is what a lot of the asset originators are waiting for, and that's kind of why they're there. You kind of need an incentive to keep them hanging around and paying the substantial gas fees and dealing with kind of the extra heavy lift of using the platform right now for their operations. So I just think cutting it any further right now doesn't make sense. I understand it's a temporary measure and it's not a long-term business model solution, but while we're still in this temporary phase, of shifting platforms, bringing on new partners, it doesn't make sense to cut off these rewards any further. CFG valuation, I think, is tied more to the market valuation and the valuation that the market's setting for the whole value of the project, and less to the actual inflation of tokens that's going on here. So I think those are kind of the key points. I think the platform's still very early. I understand TVL is going up, but 90 million's not exactly massive by financial standards for an asset manager. And then essentially everyone here is still an early adopter, and you're still incentivizing early adopters to stay around, which is exactly what you said it was designed for. So those are my comments.
So Michael, a question for you. What's the lower end of the reward percentage you'd expect to be able to offer for the participants today to stay around, but also signal that what they're receiving will be not revenue, but is going to be worth keeping, so that it's not, hey, you receive it and you sell it and you're here and be predatory, but what you're receiving will be worthwhile. So, maybe you're not happy receiving 3% instead of 5%, but if everybody's receiving 5%, then you're maybe further incentivized to sell it. So there is a sentiment that if it's less, it's actually more. Lesser interest can mean more incentive to participate and keep it too.
Yeah, I don't fully understand the question, to be honest, but I will say that my experience with the asset originators and speaking on behalf of people from Fortunify Series 1, Reef, I believe New Silvers did this also, none of them are selling rewards or selling CFG in the market. They're all kind of long-term holders and builders on the platform. So I don't really see this contributing to negative selling pressure in the market.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think people are worried about inflation. I mean, I think, and there's a goal of 3%. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, this is not a currency per se, right? We're not, if there is inflation, it's not hurting working families. Milk is not more expensive. I haven't seen any real effect of any changes in CFG rewards. I mean, it would be great. I'd be 100% for getting rid of, or cutting rewards to a minimum if that were to appreciate the price of CFG. I haven't seen that previously. I think it's driven by market dynamics in general, and I haven't seen the results of the cutting of the rewards. So, and I think the general sentiment was, I mean, on the AO side, I mean, they're fairly minimal right now. I don't think that they add up to much as it is. I think the rewards for investors on both sides, and again, I think the market has changed, and ideally we would get DeFi protocols to participate in the senior, as I believe is still the plan for the most part. And I know it's been difficult, but I think that I think incentivizing investors as much as possible right now is super important. And how else are we going to bring additional capital in?
So Lucas or Mike, do you want to respond to the last three comments, especially on the this debate around inflation?
I mean, maybe I'll respond a bit to the bringing investors and rewards being the most attractive way to do that, and I'll talk a little bit high level and maybe a little bit lower level, more granular. But I think the one thing about just rewards or liquidity mining, as it's called, and attracting investors through that, we could raise our rewards super high in an unsustainable fashion, which eventually would hurt the CFG price. Just basic economics would dictate that if people sell it, there's going to be more selling pressure eventually. But I don't think that would be a very sustainable way to grow, and I don't think that's sticky capital, i.e. capital that's just chasing short-term reward yield tends to leave the protocol as fast as it comes. So some next protocol can offer a bunch of tokens with a higher yield, and that capital will usually just fly there. So I mean, I personally don't think that that's the best way to kind of incentivize our growth. And I think on the investor side, I know it's been difficult. And I think in the call before, I highlighted this with a lot of the AOs, market conditions in credit aren't great, whether it's in Web3 or whether it's in, traditional Wall Street or markets. The conditions are, really not in our favor at the moment. I think we're all feeling that, but I think we need to keep fighting the good fight of bringing on the right kind of investors that are long-term, sustainable, want to build the Web3 ecosystem, are generally attracted to the underlying credit quality of these pools and that the asset originators are providing, and aren't really here for kind of short-term, incentives. Obviously, these help to grease the wheels and get people involved, but we do need to respond to DeFi yields around the ecosystem, and they have come down a lot, which is a reflection of token price. And I still do believe that we are competitive with other rewards paid from DeFi protocols. So that's kind of my view on capital. And I don't know, maybe Lucas wants to touch a bit on the inflation point, but I can do it as well.
I think that's all good. Let's move to Fabien first, and then we'll see if we have time to talk about this ever-present question of how much, at what level the inflation rate should be set. Fabien?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important to say, like, most of the pools present on Centrifuge will not be able to raise any money in an institutional world. So most of the issuers are emerging asset managers, and they will not be up to standard to raise any type of debt money in an institutional capital market. And I think it's important to understand that Centrifuge also helps them, Chainlink helps them building track record and give them a chance to also build the business. So so just that is a reward itself, right? It's like, it's not CFG reward, but it's also an opportunity. And you guys know the macroeconomic context. Most of the MFIs around the world are having a hard time like maintaining the debt ceiling and having a hard time financing themselves. And some of them are very mature and have like years and years of experience and track record. They will be happy to get even $5 to $10 million debt facility right now. So I think we also need to be very, meaningful. Like, it's like Chainlink and Centrifuge, provide opportunity to the current pool, and like, we cannot keep giving rewards and subsidies to these pools to operate. It's going to hurt the protocol to the point where it's going to make no sense for investors to buy tokens because the inflation rate is so high that it makes no sense anymore.
But I would say that we haven't seen that before, right? The past experience has not shown that cutting rewards leads to any kind of price appreciation, right? It is 100% driven by market dynamics. In my
how would you arrive at that conclusion, Kirill?
I've just looked at the price action.
I mean, what would happen if we had minted another 20% of, if let's say assume rewards stayed the same as they were like 1 year ago or 2 years ago, right? Like we would have had inflation of 20-30%. And I can tell you you can look at wallets and people are selling those rewards. That's what is happening.
Right. So that was my next point. I mean, I think developing utility and as I mentioned on the previous call, having paying having like AOs and participants pay for Centrifuge platform and or other utilities. I mean, I think that's what's gonna drive price appreciation. Hopefully, I think any rewards, or if there's no other utility, people are people are going to sell anyway, right? Like if there's nothing else to hold on for. I think developing more utility will lead to some kind of price appreciation, people actually buying on the markets to use it, right? That was my second point.
Right, and to sort of encapsulate it in a different way, yes, rewards are great, and also what's given as a reward should have value, and it should come in the form of either price inelastic demand, like Maker. Every time there's a transaction closed, there's a certain amount of Maker that we bought and burned, or to your point, it could be a utility. You get access to something you wouldn't otherwise get access to if you have it. And it ties into Fabien's idea of staking it as well. Maybe staking a certain amount gives you a boost in your interest rates. And maybe in order to be an underwriter and get better returns, you have to stake CFG. Are good approaches already.
I love what you're saying. And I think to your point is like, when you're an asset originator or issuer, you access a product. The product is liquidity. You access to a platform provide you with liquidity, and you should pay for it. Liquidity are not free. We're not like, we should be able to ask issuer to actually buy CFG in the open market to create kind of a buy pressure. And yes, it will drive probably the price up a little bit.
Okay, so this is a really good discussion. I think it's important, Lucas's point that staking on pools is a proposal that's also in motion, and perhaps we also need to focus some of this energy over there and make that happen. But Mike, just handing back to you to talk about next steps for this discussion and for this poll and the governance cycle. Where are we coming to our conclusion on this?
I think next steps, at least in my eyes, following this is to keep collecting comments. I can see that this is a little bit of a hotbed issue. Like, we do want to, get this rewards proposal to a poll in the near term, so we're not again racing to mint more and running out of rewards for the protocol. But I think probably most people here can agree that it's worth continuing the discussion in the forum and various groups over the next couple days or week or so to kind of come to a consensus and make sure all the parties are heard. I think this was our first real chance today to really hear from the issuers in a meaningful way. I'd like to take that on board and kind of think about it, and hopefully we can move to a poll next week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any last comments on this before we move to Polkaassembly? And yes, Fabien, awesome true governance call, correct. And just if any of you are joining for the first time, I invite you to go check out some of the broader context on discussion that we're having on our forum, where this discussion about CFG rewards is laid out in a lot of detail, and that will help you get up to speed. Ivan, can you drop the link to that into the chat? So thanks. As Mike said, we need to ensure that we actually keep having this discussion so that we arrive at proposals before we even take it on chain that are robust and legitimate. So yeah, good work. But now we're going to turn the page a little bit in this call and pass over to the team from Polkaassembly to demo to us their app. We had the pleasure of meeting Nikhil at Polkadot Decoded in Berlin. And so we thought, before we make a decision about, using a governance UI, which will enable more ease for our community members to participate in governance, because with the portal chain, it can be a little bit clunky. We thought it was really important to see what Polkaassembly have built from the builders themselves. So we'll have Nick and Jess demoing, and then we'll have time for questions. Please take it away.
Thanks, guys. It's really a pleasure to be able to present to the community. We haven't done it before. We've just been deploying for a lot of other parachains, but being able to present our entire product, our roadmap to our community, and then making sure everybody likes the products, we are able to answer most questions. That's the plan. So I'll just start with sharing my screen. Just give me 1 minute.
Did we lose him? Jess, are you still there?
I think it's rejoining.
Nikhil, are you going to demo instead, or should we?
Yeah, just 1 minute, he's joining back.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
So while I don't want to pitch for Polkaassembly, but while Jess gets set up, it is really interesting. Oh, there you are. I'll just comment on how many different chains are using Polkaassembly, which is Polkadot, Kusama, Moonbeam, Kiltbit, Bifrost, Moonriver, and a couple of others. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And looks like we're ready to go.
Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen. And we've recently deployed for a lot of parachains. We happen to scale our backend architecture so that we could have more parachains live. So I'll briefly start with like taking over our website, and then probably we'll move on to discuss or show the entire UI and the product experience. And then maybe we can take any questions that are there. So right. So just walking through different pages of the platform, I'm just trying to see how I can navigate better. Yeah. So that's like the base website. Essentially, we have put up some basic information on what we have. We have been backed by Web3 Foundation, are right now a part of Substrate Builder program. These chains that you see live here have been live for a while. Polkadot and Kusama have been using Polkaassembly for more than a year now. Polkaassembly was essentially made inside Parity itself, while Nikhil, the co-founder and CTO for the platform, was working with Parity, and then we shipped it out as a separate project. We had a roadmap which we very well followed. There are a few very interesting Medium posts that are across. I'll just quickly jump on to the demo of the current platform, and then maybe walk through like different modules that are going live parallelly. We've deployed for Centrifuge as well. There are a few fixes that are being done. So once we confirm that we, Centrifuge community decides to use on Polkaassembly, we'll make all those fixes and the platform will be usable. But let's view the platform for Polkadot. I'm sure multiple people in this community would have participated somewhere in the governance of the project. So if you look at the UI, it's been kept pretty simple. The left is a navigation bar where we have like all the categories out there, the calendar, news, parachains. We'll get to each section separately, but this is like more of a convenient navigation bar for people to easily access the entire information. Whenever each parachain has a page, so just like I'll show, centrifuge.polkaassembly will have its own page. The protocol owner can decide what description they would want to put in here. We've already collated all social, GitHub, Reddit links for all protocols. This is the on-chain treasury information that's available for Polkadot. Similarly, it will be available for any parachain that goes live. So basic information on the current pricing, how much is the spend period, what's the burn like. So following just the standard treasury, format for all parachains. This is the navigation menu. Again, we have tried to make it very custom, try to bring in the right set of information up front so that people can easily navigate through these bars. So this all tab, right now we are on the treasury proposal tab, is sorted by like the latest treasury proposal that gives the most active status. And these two indicators here essentially depend. Let's say you've put out a comment on a treasury proposal and somebody's replied to you. So this is where you'll get, notified that somebody has really commented on your treasury proposal or you've liked it. So that's like the base platform. Now, if you look at the tips UI, there is a basic information all across here. There's a timeline. People can add in more comments, and on the right, we display who's, getting the tip, who's tipped, who's yet not to tip. So it also, provides a nudge to the council members who are supposed to tip to the people who are proposing a tip, and the final tip that the proposer is getting based on the calculations as well. We're going through an overhaul of all these designs, so I have them open here as well, so I can walk you through that as well. Let's quickly come to like, how does the voting really happen? So this is again the existing UI itself, but if you see on the right, there is a clear indicator on where is the proposal's current status, how many people have voted aye or nay, and you can easily vote from here. And not just once, since Polka.js allows you to vote multiple times. Once you've voted here, you'll also be able to see your voting timeline. So you'll be able to see, let's say 2 days later, you come back. So you'll be able to see the last time you voted aye with X amount of tokens, and you can vote again. And there's this entire timeline that's stacked here, right? If we move on to a treasury proposal somewhere, should be here. So within the treasury proposal, you'll see this new thing that we recently introduced. We put out a blog post as well for the same, which talks about the accountability for treasury proposals. So each treasury proposal, anybody who's proposing would be suggested to put forward a deadline. This deadline will be visible to the community on the calendar page here. So let's say here is the kusama.polkaassembly.io. If you go here, you'll see. Yeah, maybe I can show you on Polkadot as well. So here you see there are upcoming events, and then there is news. Right now, these upcoming events are primarily on-chain events plus deadline. So anybody who's put deadline for a proposal will be visible on the calendar. So people will be able to track proposals. And once the deadline comes close, whoever has created a treasury proposal is supposed to come back, upload like submission proofs of the work they've done for which they asked money for the treasury proposal. And then the community will be able to judge on it, like comment, ask more questions to the proposer. So this brings in a lot of accountability within the own ecosystem and the governance ecosystem, right? Then we move on to the treasury proposal. So as of now, as we know, right, to create a treasury proposal, even with the existing Polkaassembly structure, or let's say any other platform, user first had to go to polkadot.js, create a treasury proposal there, then come back, edit the title, etc. on, let's say, Polkaassembly or any other platform. So what we've done with treasury proposal essentially is you can create the entire experience on the platform itself. So you really never need to go to polka.js. You just create a new proposal here. You add all the details off-chain and on-chain data, and all of that will be handled on the backend. So it makes the entire UX very convenient for anybody trying to use the project, right? I'll just quickly also walk through the latest developments that are in progress. So if you look at this page, this is the new UI that we are looking for referenda, where people will be able to track everything upfront. There will be more clear visibility on the timeline, the voting history, as I mentioned, that you voted last this on the particular date with the entire voting history. Again, trying to, make the timelines more clear, bring in more visibility around everything. We are revamping this entire panel to make it more like a forum, Reddit-like experience, so that people are, more comfortable having discussions right here. Similarly, this is a UI we are again considering for just what is the right way to represent. So we'll be doing like a more vote with all our parachains to see which UI they're more comfortable with to have timelines, etc. displayed. This is the latest idea of how we'll be showing in all discussions, like in a 3 tabular format. Went through a lot of UX iterations to come up with this, where all basic information is upfront visible and with color code tags, etc., so that the community can easily navigate. We are also building a separate dashboard for the council members as well, so that they can easily track which proposals, tips, bounties have been put up, which on them have they taken action, what action have they taken, and they'll be able to live track, and they'll have like proper notifications on what's really left of them to take care of. Similarly, this is a new design for the tips UI that we're looking forward to. I would also take just one last moment to show the new landing page that we have developed for all parachains to navigate once a lot of parachains are live on the platform. So this is how the new website is planned to look like. I'll quickly also take up a few questions before I walk through the future roadmap on what we're really building there. So that should like bring more clarity on what we're up to, what from where we have developed. So any questions till now, very happy to take them up.
I have one question regarding the event calendar you showed earlier. If you could go back to that one there. So those are, is it possible to add or customize this calendar, or is it strictly from all the events from the blockchain that is put in here? I mean, could we put, for example, like a governance call here and those kind of events?
Yeah, so the admin will have access to add any event on the like their own parachains calendar. Initially, it's going to be a little centralized as we begin with. So every event that is happened will be approved by us via email. But within a month or so, we'll be decentralizing this as well, and special admin accesses will be provided so that you can customize on who can add what sort of events here, and your community will be notified of the new event that's been added to the calendar.
Perfect, thanks.
Thanks, Jesky. I think there's a big question coming from quite a few people in relation to the discussion element. So we use Discourse Forum, and that we have a lot of categories and subcategories on there. And so, yeah, I see you have a discussion page, but so can we use that, or can we also choose not to use that?
You can choose not to use that, but if you want any the same set of categories and subcategories you have on Discourse, if you can share across a list and the mapping of that, we can quickly add it here, and then you can just use one platform for all your discussions.
Cool. Can you take us over to that discussion page just to have a bit of a look?
Yeah, so currently this was not a requirement from any parachain to have categories here. So right now all the categorization is primarily from our end, which is based on the on-chain categorization, but we have the flexibility in the backend to enable all sort of tags that we're already developing to put forward to all discussions. So you should be able to do that, and while adding a new post itself, we'll provide an option. Right now also we have an option. So if you see the democracy, council, treasury, general, tech, so once we have the entire mapping available, we can just quickly add it here, and then you can navigate that.
Jasky, this is fantastic. Is there any integration or planned integration with Discourse so we could seamlessly have both?
We haven't planned of it yet, but if that's the requirement, we can definitely look into it. Like when Moonbeam came on board, they wanted a MetaMask login because a lot of people had JLMR tokens on the chain. So we were able to do that within like a week or so. Currently, the roadmap is a bit too tight, so that might just get pushed by a month or two. But if that's a requirement, we can definitely add it to our roadmap and get that implemented.
I also think I read somewhere, I'm not entirely sure, that when you create a post in the discussion, you cannot edit it afterwards. Is that correct?
Admin should be able to edit. Nikhil, please correct me if I'm wrong.
All right.
After creating, you can edit. It's not a problem. Create and edit are same permissions. Anything you have created, you can edit. On-chain post as well.
All right. Thanks.
Can I ask, have you guys thought of building a like snapshot like sentiment polling feature? Like this
Yes.
is one thing we use quite.
It's in our pipeline.
Yeah, it's in our pipeline.
Yeah, is this something like something you're building? Do you have a bit more detail on who you're building with and how it will be integrated? Like, will we, for example, be able to like one thing people often do is they write a proposal and add like maybe 3 or 4 key questions, so they want to get community or token holder feedback. Today, those polls are mostly just forum members that weigh in, but it would actually be very interesting to instead use like snapshot polls to get token holder, like basically one token, one vote, right? And that is that
So-
how you're going to do it, or is there anything you can share of the plan there?
Polls are already live, so you can just create a poll just like you create a normal post. There are not a lot of options on how you could really experiment with it as of now. But we are bringing in like a few more options on how you can create more. Currently, it just follows a standard structure of one vote, one token, one vote. But we are bringing in options of choosing if you want to have like quadratic voting, or if you want to have some other sorts of voting. For every post, you can customize what sort of voting you want to put forward. That will be on the creator of the post or the poll, and people will be able to post like participate in the poll and like drop in comments wherever required.
Okay, is there any, can you share, is there one live right now or enabled?
No, it's in our roadmap for this quarter. As soon as the designs are ready, we will share it.
Is there any kind of a notification system here? So when a proposal or referendum goes live, that users can be notified?
Yes, right now the proposals are, the notifications are there primary on mail. Within this quarter itself, I'll again share the detailed deck which has the roadmap for this quarter. This quarter we are pushing forward in-app notifications, so like primarily browser-based notifications within the Polkaassembly app. And by the end of this year is when we plan to have like our mobile PWA app, so that will also allow like push in notifications within the mobile app itself.
Okay. Just one question I have is, with the changes coming with Gov2 and substrate governance, how will you adapt the interface to reflect those changes?
Yeah, so we've been talks with Rahul for a while on Gov2, and we've been like having conversations from the time child bounty was just a concept on how we're going to implement all of those. We had child bounties implemented long ago, even before it was like implemented on Polka.js. Similarly for Gov V2, we have a call scheduled with Rahul to lay out the entire roadmap on when they are planning to go live. We'll have all our development ready. We'll be taking community feedback from our parachains on how the new UI experience is going to look like. And as soon as on-chain Gov V2 go lives, we will be ready with our deployments.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I think we still have 2 more items on this call to get through. So is there any burning questions for Jeski and Nikhil, or otherwise perhaps in Discord you're in our, I don't know if you're in our Discord, maybe you can join and we can just keep chatting about this. But I think there's a few more questions that we might need more details on.
Definitely, I'll join the Discord as well, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions that come across there.
Great, and let's just make sure that your instance, your kind of test instance, is shared in our chat so that people can have a look through it. Where was that?
Yeah, I'll drop in a link of the updated deck, which has the entire roadmap, and everybody can see what really we are up to in the next quarters and in the next half year. It also includes very interesting stuff about what we are doing on incentivization. So we've been having this discussion with Rahul and the council members for a while, that the reason a lot of people don't participate in governance is the lack of clear incentivization or information missing, essentially. So we are working on both. We are creating content modules, and we are building an incentivization mechanism integrating with Guild to provide like governance scores and identity to each participant, and then like rewarding on top with NFTs and eventually hopefully a token as well for participating in the governance.
Great, that's certainly an important topic. And with that, we'll close this demo. Thank you very much for coming and presenting. It's very informative. And I think there seems to be a lot of excitement around that. So we need to make a governance decision around which governance interface we use, obviously, and we'll start that process soon. Let's move to incentives because we are in the middle of, well, we've started launching our POAP process. So Jeff, can you talk to that? We don't have much time. And if we do have time, we'd love for Rano to give a very brief update around current proposals, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I will be fast. Okay. So about the POAP, last time, like we promised we're going to give out the POAP NFT, and for those who already attend the governance core 6. The good news is we got that. So the POAP for the last time, thankfully, our best centrifuge designer and artist, Raj. Thank you so much. So this is a very cool NFT. You can see that the design is very cool. It also have the topic. Like last time we have our guest speaker, right? Crypto's chair. I don't know whether you are still here, but you are in the NFT, and all of you, if you participate, you can get that for last time. And for those of you who just joined this time, we also get a new NFT for today's call, and it will also include all the new topic like we covered for today. And it has the governance core 7 and those images. Now I will just quickly go over how you can claim that. I'm going to send the Google form. Please fill it out before you leave. Just go ahead and it's very easy. Just put your Discord and a few questions if you have. Like we would like to connect some feedback. So just put your Discord and the feedback or any other questions. And then after that, you can go to the Centrifuge Discord to the general channel, and you can ask it there. So this is the link for the general channel, and you can ask me. I will DM the code. Right now, like we will just go with this, and in the future we will improve that, so to make the process easier. What's in the future, like what's the next is please keep coming to the future governance call, as we would like to have 100 more like people join next time. Invite your friends, and if you keep coming, we are thinking about some special NFT. So this is still ongoing. We haven't got the exact one like yet, but just join if you can. And also try to become the most valuable users. Just be active in Discord, because we do have the OpenSea NFT, and this one we will probably release that every month. Every month we are going to have one most valuable users will win that NFT, and this is really valuable, very cool one. And if you do have any other ideas, you can feel free to ask now. I think it's we're out of the time, but you can ask in the in this form. Like you can ask it here, and we are going to check that, or you can just ask in the Discord. So we have the general channel. You can ask any questions, and I will be there. Just add me or DM me. Congratulations, all of you. You make it, so you will get the NFT. Thank you. Okay, I will stop here.
Awesome. That's exciting. Any questions quickly on that? I think it all seems really clear. So make sure you fill out the form. Let's just drop it again in the chat for people, and then head to the Discord channel. Okay. To end out the call, we'll just hear from Rano about any proposals that you need to pay attention to currently. Maybe just one.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I'll be quick as well. Just wanted to say a couple of numbers because a lot of things have happened since our last governance call in terms of governance on both Centrifuge and Altair. And on Centrifuge, since our last call, we've had 10 council motions and 4 public referenda that people have voted on. And on Altair, we've had 12 council motions and 5 public referenda. So a lot of voting and proposing has been going on. And one of the runtime upgrades that we've had on Altair and Centrifuge, the last runtime upgrade on Centrifuge enabled the Treasury platelet and also increased the council from 7 to 9 members. So that means that on Centrifuge, there are now 9 councillors instead of 7. So that was one of the results of the last runtime upgrade. But the most interesting runtime upgrade, in my opinion, was the one on Altair, because that was the one that enabled the pools to launch on Altair. And that's one you're going to hear more about very soon. So that was just 2 things I wanted to mention from the past before telling what's going on now. So ongoing governance right now, there is the restructuring of the tin leg rewards that we already discussed earlier in the call. And then there is another proposal from Genshiro, which is a Kusama parachain. It's the cousin of Equilibrium, if anyone of you know that, on Polkadot. And they have made a proposal to integrate air into their platform, into their DEX. So there is a proposal on our forum. I'll link to it right here, this one here, so you can go and read that and comment on that one. So I Genshiro would appreciate any feedback from our community, what we think about that. So please do give it a read and go comment if you have any. And the last thing I want to say is 2 upgrades that are ahead of us, and that there are 2 runtime upgrades, one on Altair and one on Centrifuge. And the main update in those runtime upgrades is to support the wormhole USDC between Akala and Centrifuge. So because the USDC will be the token used on the coming Centrifuge pools. So you can read about that. I believe Ivan sent the link. Yeah, more upcoming. You link to that one? I'll just do it right here quickly. Don't know which one you link to. So these are the 2 upgrades to keep an eye on. These are the ones you will be voting on in the very near future. I would say the next week, the governance process should begin. So you should be able to go and vote with your CFG and air tokens respectively. We will announce it on the forum once they are up and running. So that's all for me. Hopefully I did it fast enough. I am out.
Amazing. Well done. Thank you, Rano. And thanks for supplying the link there, Ivan. Okay, we did a lot. We did a great governance call. Well done, everyone. And welcome to anyone who was joining for the first time. And we hope to see you back in 1 month. We'll post the recording of this call tomorrow in case you want to rewatch. And also do let us know, either in the form for the POAPs, any feedback that you have or any topics that you think are essential to discuss. So that's all for now.